Welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria, and today we're going to be talking about the 25 books that I want to be reading in 2025. So, we're going to be dividing these into sections so that it kind of has some sense of order. So, the first section that we're going to be going over are the 2025 releases. So, I only have 4 on my list because there are more that I'm excited for, but these are the ones that I know for sure that I'm going to want to pick up. The first one I've already read, which was Adrift Currents Clean and Clear by Shannon Maguire. This is the 10th and possibly final book in the Wayward Children series. It is my favorite novella series of all time. I highly recommend them to those who have not read them, but the series as a whole follows a group of children who are kind of like the Narnia children or like Alice in Wonderland who end up finding their own perfect portal world, and this series is structured in a really unique way that I love. So all of the odd numbered books follow the group of children as a whole as they live at this home for children who are have had these portal experiences, and the even numbered books are following the individual children in their own specific world. So this 10th one is following a character that we meet in book 2 or 3. Her name is Nadia, and it is her world. It is a drowned world, which means that she is a girl who lives underwater. Her world has gigantic turtles that talk to you and help with the everyday life of the humans that live down there. I absolutely adored this book. It may not have been my favorite as among the whole series, but it was still really was something that I enjoyed reading, and it gave a lot of context to her as a character that now I'm thinking about doing a reread that'll hopefully, now that I have this context, will shed some new light on her. I hope that more books are coming in this series. There are so many characters that I still do not feel have gotten their justice and their exploration of their worlds. So I'm hoping that there's more, but we'll see. The next 2025 release is the only one that I physically own as of right now, which is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I think everybody and their mother is excited about this book coming out. I ended up just getting the regular standard edition. I wasn't going to be trying to fight to get that exclusive Target edition, and now I'm finding out that the art is stolen. I'm a little upset by that. I've literally seen people pop up pictures and comparing them to pictures that they find in their D&D books. It's a little sad. I am really excited about this. This is the third book in the Fourth Wing series. I'm not sure how many books there are going to be. It's probably been announced, but I haven't really been paying attention. I don't remember when I ended up reading Iron Flame, but it's been a little bit. So I've already been watching like the recap videos to help me better prepare to jumping back into this world. The next book that I'm really excited about for 2025 releases is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is her 6th novel, I believe. And I've read 3 of them so far. So I've read Book Lovers, Happy Place, and Funny Story. And of those 3, I absolutely adore. I'm planning on picking up Beach Read this year. I'm just waiting for it to be summer so that I can like have all the vibes and the feels. I don't know how I feel about reading People We Meet on Vacation, but if I want to be a completionist, I will eventually pick it up at some point. I love the cover of this book so much. I love like the geometrical patterns, but also having it represent like the sun. I think it's just beautifully gorgeous. Um I think I like the competition aspect that's going to be happening in this book. It follows these 2 people who are going to a like remote place and meeting a secluded, what was it, an author or was it like a socialite, like it was it kind of like the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I'm not quite sure, but they are competing to try and write a autobiography, I believe, but this socialite, so to speak, is only giving each one of them bits and pieces of her story, so they're not allowed to collaborate on anything that they've learned. So it's kind of, I'm kind of interested in seeing where we go from there and how the romance ties into all of that, but I'm really excited for it. And the last 2025 release that I have on my list for this year is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. V. Schwab is one of my auto buy authors, so I don't need to know anything about a book to want to pick it up if it is written by her. So I genuinely don't know anything about this book that is coming out. She is just okay, she's coming out with a book. Cool. I'm gonna buy it. That's all I need to know. It's V. Schwab. That's all I need to know. The next section of books that I will be talking about is my 2024 releases that I need to catch up on. So the first one is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This was gifted to me by Tella. So thank you, Donatella. Thank you so much for this. I'm very excited for this. It's just so junky. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. It's going to be a hot second. But all I needed to know is that there was dragons. There's an assassin. I love fantasy books, so this is an easy pickup for me. I really don't need to know much more than that to want to pick this up. The next 2024 release is Never Date a Roommate by Paula Ottoni. This wasn't on my radar as of last year. I ended up getting it as like a free book from a local bookstore that when you bought a book on their opening day, they gave you an ARC read. So this came out July 23rd, 2024, and I don't remember if I got this before or after its release, but the reason why I put this on my list is because Books and Lala has her buzzword readathon this year, and the word for November was never. And this is one of the only books that I have on my TBR that has never in the title. So I figured putting it on my 25 and 2025 list was more I would be more inclined to pick it up. My next 2024 release that I'm hoping to get to this year is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This will be my first Ashley Poston read. I do have her other two books of The 7-Year Slip and The Dead Romantics, which I hope to read soon. This might be an Ashley Poston year, I'm not sure. But I do love books and about stories. So anytime that I see a book on the cover or a bookish word in the title, I usually automatically pick it up. So I don't need to know much about this to want to read it as soon as possible. And the last 2024 release that was actually my most recent read was Somewhere Beyond the Scene by TJ Klune. I love TJ Klune with a passion. I have read Under the Whispering Door, In the Lives of Puppets, and House in the Cerulean Sea. I still need to read his like Wolf Song series and most of his middle or like his YA stuff, but oh my gosh, was this amazing. I'm so glad that I finished it with enough time to be able to film about it before I had to go return it back to the library. I'm waiting for the paperbacks to come out so I can buy that edition, but oh my lord. TJ Klune never fails to make me laugh. He never fails to make me feel all the feels that all the characters are feeling and justify all of the feelings that I feel as a person. I cannot recommend this enough. This literally takes place. It doesn't pick up right where we left off in House of the Cerulean Sea, but it's within a good time frame that he's able to bring you back in. If it's been a long time since you've read House of the Cerulean Sea, he's able to wrap up the story enough and recap it enough to allow you to just pick this up, even if it's been years since you read the first one. So I highly recommend it. If you loved House of the Cerulean Sea, you will love Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Please, please, please pick it up. So my next section is the biggest section of this whole video, which is releases that happened within the last 5 years. So because I've already included 2024 and 2025, it's mostly just 2023 to 2020. So my first book in this section is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I just know that it's sapphic and it has some magical realism in it. That's all I needed to know. I love the colors on this cover. I love that it has a metro because I've been writing the metro for work. So this is just a book that I absolutely needed to pick up. I still have not read Red, White, and Royal Blue, but I do own it. So if I do end up needing another romance to pick up, I might pick that one up as well. But I'm just excited. I love sapphic stories. They're just amazing. I have so many. I might do a video on all of the sapphic romances that I have, or even just in fantasy and sci-fi as well. But I'm excited for this one. Next is the only nonfiction that I have on this list, which is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her last name. I'm so sorry. But I love H Mart. I love going to H Mart. I love all the Asian food and Korean food and Japanese food and everything that they sell. I'm down for at H Mart. I fell in love with the one in Austin because it's massive. Like it felt larger than an HEB. If you know what an HEB is, it felt bigger than an HEB. So the fact that now the H Marts that I have are like really tiny, kind of like bodega style H Marts, it is a little sad, but I'm glad that I still have them around. So I'm just gonna read part of the back here because nothing can describe a nonfiction more than what the synopsis is on the back. So it says, this is Donner's searingly candid coming of age story of growing apart from and then back together with her Korean identity and of forging her own path in the wake of devastating loss. So I'm excited for what this will teach me and how it could relate to me, not necessarily as like I'm not somebody of Asian descent, but I am a person of color. So I'm hoping to find those parallels in life, and I'm hoping to enjoy it. Next is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. I think that this is kind of like a dark academia sorority college type book, and then that is giving me Legendborn vibes, which I'm totally here for. So I'm hoping that this gives me more of the university setting that Legendborn kind of lacked on because she was like a teenager. So I'm hoping that this gives me more of that university vibe, but I'm very very excited for it. I've had it for what feels like literal years, so this is kind of like the push to force myself to read this book because I'm so excited for it. The next one is Night of the Witch by Sarah Rosh and Beth Revis. I love Sarah Rosh. I have read um quite a few of her books now. I think I've read four of them as of right now. Um, but John, my boyfriend, ended up giving this to me in my like boo box for last year, boo basket for last year. So I'm very intrigued. I love the sprayed edges of this. It is absolutely gorgeous. I know nothing about it, but I love anything with a witch. So it's time to read it this year. Next is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I am wanting to get back into kind of like a Greek mythology kick, so look forward to a reading vlog where I am going to be reading quite a few of some Greek retellings and a few that you might be a little mad that I haven't read yet. But I know nothing about this. I don't need to know much when it comes to Greek mythology. I'd rather just have the story be told to me and take in what it's willing to give. This cover is absolutely gorgeous, though, so we'll see how I feel about it. Next is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I When I heard that one of the characters was an octopus, I absolutely had to pick this book up. But it follows a octopus named Marcellus, who is helping one of the people who works at the aquarium that he is at try and solve the mystery of how her son went missing 30 years ago. So I've been wanting to pick up more just like general fiction books, and I'm wanting to fully understand more of like the octopuses or octopi intelligence. And I'm hoping that this dives into it more. I love kind of like an aquarium setting. I loved Finding Dory, so I'm hoping that this has kind of the same vibe of like a mystery, but you're in the aquarium, I guess. But this cover is gorgeous. It just I need excuses to read some of my books sometimes. I have too many. Next is Curse of the Night Witch by Alex Astor. This is one of her YA novels or middle grade. I think it might be middle grade. Um, but I loved her Lightlark series so much. I have already read all the way through Sky Shades. So when she told me that there was two more books in the Lightlark series, I was super excited for them. But I already had this on my shelves. I had found it at a thrift store at some point. So when I realized that they were the same person, I automatically had to put it on this list. I love her writing. I'm hoping that it kind of I'm not sure how she'll do in middle grade, but I'm excited to learn the story nonetheless. Next is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is the same author as All the Stars and Teeth, which I ended up reading last year and absolutely adored. I know nothing about this one, as you'll see again with most of the books on this list. I don't know much about my books. So this kind of sounds like a murder mystery almost, but with a magical element, and I'm really excited for it. It literally says that she teams up with Death to try and figure out who murdered one of her relatives, And I'm really excited for it. Even at the top, it says, "For as long as Signa Farrow has been alive, the people in her life have fallen like stars." So this cover is gorgeous. I know that it's the three books are out, like including this one, there are three books out. So I don't know where it'll go from here, but I'm excited to finally read a book that I've had on my shelf probably longer than All the Stars and Teeth. Next is A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorne. I ended up reading You Can't Spell Cheese Without Tea by her last year and absolutely adored it. So I found out that the next book, I think Tea with the Altar, is the third one and it's coming out this year. So I'm planning on making a reading vlog all having to do with books that have tea in the title. So this is one of them, and I'm going to keep the rest of it a secret for now. See if you can guess in the comments which books I'll be planning on reading, and maybe I might add one of those if I haven't thought about it. But this follows a sapphic couple, um, and they're on a pirate ship. That's all I needed to know. Um, I think it is a new couple than from the first book, but we might have kind of like an not a flashback to them, but like they may intermingle. So I'm hoping so because we didn't meet these characters until the epilogue of the last book. So I don't know how connected that they will be, but I love pirate books, so I'm excited for it so much. Next is one that I don't own, which I'm very upset that I don't own, which is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I have already read Babel by her and I absolutely adored it. So I am going to be planning on reading this one. I just know that it's about the publishing industry and a white woman trying to um pretend to be an Asian woman to release her novel, which that alone is upsetting and infuriating. So I'm very excited to see where she takes this, especially because I think RF Kwan is coming out with another book this year as well. So I just have so many books that I need to catch up on if I want to keep up to date with these authors. And the last one in this section, which is another one that I do not own, is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I loved Legends and Lattes. I actually buddy read this with a couple of my friends over on Book Talk, and we absolutely enjoyed it. It was the most coziest cup of tea and coffee and everything possible. So I'm hoping that those vibes translate over into Bookshops and Bone Dust. I know it's a prequel because it follows Viv before she ever created the coffee shop in Legends and Lattes. So I don't know how I'll feel about it because I loved the growth that she had in Legends and Lattes, but I'm having my hopes, but I love his writing. I love the book so much, so I need to pick it up soon so I can actually read it. My next section is a group of four books that I am calling the OG reads. So the first one is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I have been putting this one off for so long. I ended up checking it out from the library last year, but the whole like when I finally got it, I was overwhelmed with the books that I was already reading. So I wasn't able to read it before I had to return it to the library. So I've put myself back on the hold list. Whenever it comes, I'm going to make the time and I'm going to read it because it's been way too long for me not to. This is the second book in the Mistborn of the Final Empire series. Um, I loved Mistborn so much. I don't like it is very different from the books that I normally read, but because it's more high fantasy. But I absolutely adored it. So I'm hoping that Well of Ascension doesn't have like middle book syndrome and it lives up to my love for Mistborn. Next is a book that if I were to show you a picture, which I might just put it up right here, of my shelves when I was living with my parents and I was in high school, you'll see this book on this shelf. And I still have not read it, which is Fallen by Lauren Kate. It is blasphemy that I have not read this yet, considering that I've had it on my shelves for probably a decade, which is a little sad that I've had it on my shelf for that long and have not gravitated towards it. So this is the year I will be forcing myself to read this book. I don't know anything about it. It's been on my shelves for too long that I don't know anything about it. I'm going to read it. Next is a book that again I am very upset at myself for not have read it yet. I will be buddy reading this with Lexi, so I'm very excited for that. But The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern. I love magical things. I love circuses. I love everything that this book says it should be. So, why I have not read it yet, I'll never know. It's mostly because it's intimidating. It scares the living daylights out of me to think that I would read this book. But I'm really excited for it regardless. I hope that it's everything that I want it to be. So that I'm not disappointed that it's been on my shelf for this long and then I'm disappointed. So I'm really excited for this one. And this last one in this section, again, don't get mad at me. Please don't get mad at me. I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. I'll just see myself out now. This is one of like the OG like dystopian books, like when people were reading Hunger Games and Divergent and Matched and all of those other books that were popular when I was in high school. I it is I'm upset at myself for not have read this one yet. I only own the first one, so if this hooks me, we're gonna have a problem because the series is so long. But I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna try and see if it still holds up all these years later. And we come to the last section of the video that only has the two other books that I didn't know where else to put them. So I'm just calling it the other category. And the first one is Satellite by Nick Lake. This has again been another book that has been on my shelves for way too long. I've been meaning to read it for literal years. Like I'll pick it up and try and say, yeah, I'll read it. It's on my TBR and then not pick it up. So I desperately need to read this. The reason why I'm more forcing myself to be reading it this year is again for uh, Books and Lala's a buzzword readathon. For the cover challenge for this year, she has Celestial. So this is a celestial body. This is what looks like Earth. So I'm excited for this nonetheless. I love sci-fi. Why I haven't picked this up, I'll never know. And last but certainly not least is The Power by Naomi Alderman. Considering the state of this country right now, it seemed only fitting that I read a feminist fiction novel. I know nothing about it other than I think that um, all over the world, women and girls discover they have a power. With a flick of the fingers, they can inflict terrible pain and even death. So does that mean women are inflicting pain on men? Which would be a great um, change, I guess, from what the current state of the world is. But I have also had this on my shelf for way too long. I ended up picking it up as a thrift store at some point. So I'm excited to read this year. If you have read any of these books, please let me know down in the comments so that I can get excited about which ones I should prioritize first. If you are still watching here at the end of this video, leave a stack of books in the comments so that I can know that you were still here and supporting me all the way to the end. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.